So we are here to tell you about the story, what it takes to win in a digital Burger King business. I hope this is not yet another reference story, but something different, as we decided to be extremely honest about all turns in this story. We will share the painful backgrounds that led us to redesign and develop new digital sales channel, and we will show you the stunning results and then talk about the exciting future as well. But before we go to the story, let me first introduce myself and my friend here. So, my name is Minna Karvonen. I'm head of design at CodeMade, and I'm here with Erno Onatsu, our client, Chief Information Officer of Tradeka and Restel.
Yes, hi for all. Nice to be with you today.
All right. So, we are going to cover these areas of Restel's digital journey. I think we have lessons here that could be beneficial to any of you, even though you would work on a totally different area, but still in a consumer business. Along with the key figures of this business, we are going to tell you how to build the lasting business impact and how to keep it relevant for the consumers. And in the end, we will tell about new themes that we are currently working on. Okay, but the story really started with this Restis, as we call it, Restis platform, 2017 already. It was a digital service designed to support Restel's business, and that was very different back then. The reason for existing has changed over the years. Several companies have contributed to it, and so did we at CodeMate. But let's focus more on what happened 2020 before seeing the solution and impact of our work. 2020, Restis was one application, and it presented Restel's own company brand. It was familiar to company employees, but not so much to consumers. Erno, you have been part of the project since the beginning. Tell us what was the Restis platform.
We originally designed the Restis app to digitalize the customer journey for the hotel guests. And we did that. In the end, our guests were able to stay overnight, eat and order room service without any contact with the staff those days. And as part of the project, we also, this is fun fact, changed 8,000 hotel door locks so that guests could open their room doors with the app. And I also ordered the same number of tablets for all the rooms in the hotels to run the app. And the second fun fact, at that point, actually Lenovo's headquarters called to Finland and asked what the heck is going on there, who is so crazy that needs 8,000 tablets in Finland. But unfortunately, the app never went live for a broader audience. We sold all our hotel chains to Scandic at the end 2017, and the app wasn't included in that deal. And one of the main features of the app was food ordering from restaurants while staying at the hotel. And before that acquisition, Restel had more fine dining restaurants. But after the deal, the main restaurant chains were fast food. So we had to recreate the app for the fast food from the fine dining. And also figure out some totally new ways to order food because, well, it's quite hard to compete with apps like Wolt and Foodora. You might know that. And I would say also that when you are developing something new like this, you really need some unique features for that. And one of them was actually pretty cool what we did, and yes, it was my idea. So let's see how it worked.
Hi, Nicole. Nice to meet you. Bacon, egg, and cheese McGriddle.
Yeah, actually, that silent big drive feature was one of the many development tracks back in the days, just before we started 2020. So let's highlight the starting point. What was it back then, and the challenges we had? First of all, due to all changes done during the previous years in this Restis platform, it came fragmented and it had huge technical depth.
Yes, and I think so one of the biggest issues was that the Restis app was developed to work in hybrid mode. We didn't build a native app at that time because we needed to include third-party processes. For example, for the hotel check-ins needs to be integrated there. And at the same time, hybrid apps were starting to fall out of fashion. They felt a little bit clunky and sometimes annoying laggy, if you know what I mean. But we also discovered that people who ate Burger King or in Taco Bell couldn't find the app called Restis. Even it had all features for them. And in the end, the app had become pretty heavy. With the same app, you could book the table, order the food for the ice hockey match, and even have it delivered to your seat in the ice hockey arena. Burger lovers might not be into that kind of thing. Actually, I don't know. But in the end, splitting these brands into their own separate apps was a great decision. And I personally love a smooth experience. I grew up in the 90s when Demoskene was taking off, and back then this smooth and fluid movement on the computer screen was everything.
Yeah, and it still is. But Erno, then you decided to invest in digital design and development and accepted our proposal to achieve this. Was it difficult to convince Restel's management board that this is now the best plan going forward?
Yes, actually, I have known all these years that the time will come when everyone orders their food through some kind app on some kind device. And back then, the sales through these apps were still pretty modest. And I had to fight quite a bit in our management board meetings to just keep our app alive. And I actually remember one time when I was once again giving a speech about how important the app would become on the future. And a couple of our business managers literally they yelled at me with the red face and saying that they would roll out the red carpet for the app users if they ever show up because they were so rare at that time. And also there is a big lesson to learn in that. If you create something new, advertise it. Unless you are PayPal or ChatGPT, it's highly unlikely that people will discover your app on their own. Even if it's a real game changer, it needs to be advertised. And without our support from our CEO, we never would have had a new Burger King app. The resistance was so intense. Even he had his doubts, and I had to use quite a bit of creativity to somehow scrape to get the funding to rebuild it. And at the first, I only had few euros to modernize the Burger King app. And of course, there was already the Wolt dominating the market at that time. And that was probably also one reason why almost nobody believed in our own app at that time.
Yeah. What about the impact of pandemic? It was the same time.
Yeah, the pandemic impact too, of course. And competition was that time fierce, and restaurants had to close doors due to restrictions. And I think so it highlighted even more the need of fully owned digital sales channel. And some competitors missed this and are now in big trouble, I think so.
Yeah. It was a moment of truth for sure. And now let's see how the solution was born. And we'll start with the project ramp up. So we actually started with only 3.5 persons team. There was a designer, Flutter developer, backend developer, and then half-time project management/product owner involved. And our first goal was to design a new application hierarchy, utilizing existing backend and building new fresh application to serve multiple restaurant brands with the same code base. So pretty challenging target. First, we released a new version of the food and events application, which unites Restel's event and dinner restaurants. You actually had the lunch with this restaurant today. Simultaneously with backend cleaning, we designed and developed the first Flutter-based application for mobile use. And the application needed to serve several very different user groups at the same time to solve Restel's new business needs. In practice, food and events users varied from older and less tech-savvy consumers attending opera to younger smartphone users spending their weekends in hockey games and pubs. And at the same time, Restel wanted to support several restaurant-specific brands in a way that reflected their own unique brand style so that you can separate each of them. And adding new restaurant, i.e. opening the sales channel for new restaurant, had to be easy and quick. And this was one of the key drivers for our architecture. So, first we gathered consumer and restaurant staff needs with the user research. Secondly, our designer sketched out the clear user interface. And then Flutter developer got to work, and in no time we had prototype ready. And of course we validated with the users. And by the way, this is pretty amazing. Proto was production ready apart from the finishing touches. Quite efficient, I would say. And in total, it took only a couple of weeks to place the first order to the real restaurant by using this prototype. And this rapid pace of development is one of the Flutter major advantages, while cleaned backup, of course, help a lot too. So let's see what happened next. Then we built the next application, the Burger King application, and utilizing 95% of the same code base from food and events. And the same team continued working, leveraging Flutter code and converted significant amount of similar functionality. So choosing restaurant, browsing the menu and paying for order. And Burger King was actually launched to production in just 3 months. And at the same time, backend services were updated to support our so-called multi-brand approach, as we call it. The speed was enabled by Flutter development, but also the architecture that was created to serve multiple apps with shared backend and services. All right, and then after Burger King, we created many other Flutter applications and customer loyalty programs for each of the brands, as well as introduced significant feature developments. So this multi-platform solution saved us from separate iOS and Android apps and the web UIs. And instead, we have only one code base running all of this. And let's look what apps we have at the moment. So we have food and event. There's approximately 20 different venue and dinner restaurants and pubs, each with their own brands. And more is coming. Burger King is there, covering most of the Finland with daily special offers and loyalty programs. And then there's Taco Bell with renewed user experience and cool micro animations. There's Rax application for pizza lovers. And still there's renewed Restis application that still serves about 250,000 Tradeka members with their personal discounts. And all of those brands now form together a network of 111 restaurants in Finland, from Lapland to Helsinki. And now, Restel, you can freely operate each restaurant individually or by brand as you wish. And marketing campaigns can be ramped up here, and kitchens can be opened and closed. And adding new restaurant takes max 2 hours in this system. And adding new brand application, whole new application, takes just a couple of months. Who else could do that? Yeah, and we are updating these applications about twice a month, each of them. For example, if we want to change the feature impacting all of the applications, we implement it only once and it spreads all over the applications. So that's quite cool. Okay, let's take a short look at the architecture. If we start from the left, you can see the Flutter applications. So there's all of these Burger King Food and Events, Taco Bell, Rax and Restis. They all use shared backend via REST API. There's backend and API that handles user accounts, loyalty programs, brand integrations, and so forth. And then there's Restis Manager, which is an admin tool that your personnel is using to managing restaurants, closing kitchens, making coupons for consumers and managing and viewing the order history. There's menu editor for Burger King and image service for all of the visuals that we are using in the application. There's several integrations at the moment. There's OpenPOS to manage the brand data and menus. There's Acrelec kiosks and Adyen for payments. There's Custapa for marketing automation and Mailgun for sending feedback emails. There's Volt Drive managing the deliveries and Sultec for digital gift cards and many other issues. But let's go forward. All of that took 4 years to build, and it was not always easy, as you can imagine. During this trip, we cancelled some of the applications and also feature developments and focused on the applications that we now currently have. But let the results speak for themselves. Erno, how would you now describe Restel's business?
Right now we are in the position where I think so all our competitors want to be, which is quite great, I think so. We have even received a few inquiries asking what it would cost to use our app. And honestly, we are very happy to share our app with competitors as long as there is some kind of fair compensation for us. And there is actually really no point in everyone spending millions to build their own app while Wolt and Foodora just keep overtaking us left and right with their limitless budgets. It's just smarter that we join forces and compete together against them. And of course, our sales have increased by more than 50% every year.
Yeah. So Burger King sales is growing each year with 50%, and naturally it required major investments. Was there any surprises for Restel?
It's always surprising how much money you can end up spending when you are creating something new. Even if you tell this time yourself that this time we will only build what's absolutely necessary, then the wish list starts rolling in and you can stop it. And if you want to get people committed to the project, you often have to do things that are great for the end result, but not strictly necessary. And of course, you will need the management team on your side, which is usually the hardest part in the project like this.
Yeah. And I think that story would be interesting to hear for many of the people in the audience. What did this require from Restel's management board?
I think so. It really requires a shared vision. Sure, you can do it without one, and I felt that way at the times. But it's a tough road. It's so much better when everyone is working toward the same goal. But honestly, I think so. This is the lifelong challenge that only a few people have a strong vision and the others tend to follow. So the one who has the vision, how we say in Finland, needs to have thick skin with that. You just have to keep the conversation going within the management team until everyone truly understands how important the digitalization is nowadays. And your management team, I think, so also have to accept that you will need to sacrifice some budget for it, and the money does not come back right away after it has been spent. This really needs to be understood.
Yeah. Any other advice to C-level colleagues in the audience?
Maybe if you don't have the real inner passion for it, make sure that you find people around you who do have the inner passion for real. And I think so focus your resources on making the end result incredible usable for the end users. There your money should go. And find a partner who shares your passion and your vision, and collaboration with this partner needs to be based on flexibility, not by sticking to every line on the contract. And make sure that your partner sees things the same way.
Yeah, nice to hear. Let's see more figures. So here's one more figure from the sales. The total growth in digital sales channel has grown 836% again compared to 2020. Wow. And then a number of orders have grown even more, 960% compared to 2020. So now consumers are the main user group instead of staff. Erno, is there anything else you could share about the figures, like costs? How much did you invest? And have you already seen break even?
If I remember correct, we might have spent approximately something like 1.5 million to 2 million euros, maybe, to set up this up. And so the break even happened a long time ago.
Cool. Is the management board now satisfied with the figures?
I hope so.
Me too. Now, it will be interesting to see how this sort of success story continues. What could be done more so that we stay relevant and remain as a success story. So let's take a look at our next steps. I don't know if there was any news to you in previous chapters of this presentation, but we really reached these results by doing the basics right. So no digital service is ever finished in a way, and new requirements and expectations come from the consumer. We need to keep listening the feedback and other impacting factors around us. And here are some of the development themes that we are going to focus next. So some of these are almost complete, some of these are on the drawing board. So we are going to continue scaling. Our technology and architecture supports fast upgrades and business to expand. And you might have heard lately news about Restel having new areas to explore. So there's things like Neste gas stations, food services going to Restel, Casino Helsinki food services going to Restel, even ex-Hartwall Arena is soon opening with Restel's service. And then accessibility. Accessibility is about usability, and maybe you have heard about the law which transition period ends at the end of June this year. And we will focus on this as well. And I think and we believe that this will boost the customer satisfaction even more, and to all consumers, not just the ones that really need accessibility features. And then, of course, AI, those two letters that are on our lips every day. Restel 2 is developing AI-assisted capabilities and business solutions with CodeMate. So we look forward launching this for our consumers really soon. Stay tuned. But there's many other things to do. We also need to keep the platform secure and safe, among other feature development. This is just a really short summary of what's on the backlog. It's huge. Okay, but that was Restel's story so far, and let's take a look at the key takeaways and summarize the learnings. What we need to remember: blooming and growing business needs constant attention in digital services, and it all starts with your own company buy-in. Align with your team, and then use research, competitive analysis, and such to validate where you are currently. And then share this situational picture within your management team so that everybody knows and is aligned. And then understand your consumers. Collect their needs, but also other stakeholder needs that impact the critical customer journey. Like we visited restaurants and we checked how the kitchen works and so forth. And when going to the actual solutions, we learned how much Flutter improves your speed of progress and how important it is to build architecture that enables growth. Those were the key things. And then maybe one thing to mention is that CodeMed is actually the only official Google Flutter partner in the Nordics, and we have developed the Flutter together with Google. So creating successful platform requires a long run, continuous development, and keeping the solution relevant for users and in involving environment. That's the key. But now, is there any final words before we go to questions?
Maybe I would say that if you are now in the middle of the big digitalization project, keep your focus on the user experience. Whatever you digitalize, make sure it's truly usable and that it works. And most importantly, choose the right partner to do it with.
Yeah. Hey, thank you all for listening our story. I hope you got some tips that you can use in your business as well. And on behalf of CodeMed, I would like to thank you, Erno and Restel team, for amazing journey behind us and on front of us.
Thank you, Minna and CodeMed.
Thank you.